bed I broke down.
With Gamtel G-Fiber, now you can enjoy super fast internet in gigabytes. G-Fiber is affordable, stable, secured, and accessible to homes, businesses, and enterprises. With Gamtel G-Fiber, the future is speed. Gamtel, creating a brighter future in communication.
That's how she became mine and see the
All right.
Honey, did you remind him that the last time he sent the money, it was not enough to buy all the provisions?
Oh, sorry, I forgot to tell him.
Are you guys talking about money transfer to buy provisions?
Yes.
But don't you know about Baluwo?
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 What is Baluwo?
Baluwo is a service that your son can use to send provisions directly to you guys from the shop. And you don't have to worry about the exchange rate.
Tell me how Baluwo works.
It's very simple.
Just log on to baluwo.com and shop, or download the app on your phone. You can shop on the website or using the app to buy online basic products for your family and friends. With Baluwo, you decide what your money is spent on. Your money, your choice. Buy online products for your family and friends in the Gambia, Senegal, Nigeria or Mali. Baluwo, better than sending money.
Are you thinking of owning your dream homes? EJ Investment is here for you. Secure our quality bungalows with 2, 3 or 4 bedrooms, or our story buildings 3 or 4 to 5 bedrooms at very affordable prices with flexible payment plans at our Sanyang Seaview Estate, where you can enjoy the cool breeze with modern infrastructure such as tar roads, covered drainage system, modern electrification with street lights, gated entrance with security posts, and social amenities such as gas station, shopping mall, medical clinic, park, schools, children daycare, and a lot more. Our dedicated team of professionals will keep the estate clean at all times, provide security and patrol team within the estate premises, install latest technologies such as CCTV, Wi-Fi, home network installation, solar panel, and power backup system. Also, check out for our additional home facilities and interior design service such as premium tiling, wall plaster, home landscape, fingerprint home lock, and a lot more. Visit our office at Senegambia Kololi Highway and get a free site visit tour, or contact us on 4464-838. WhatsApp us on 3259220. Or you can visit our Facebook page or Instagram on EJ Investments. EJ Investments, we are first in properties.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
Agada.
Mbijan aganya.
Albaka.
Mbaka important.
Yo, nga transfer la sto.
Ya transfer la sto.
Ha, code nyenje.
Okay. Kosa. Nsila ID soto.
Ha, sa soto. Sorry. Agada.
Mbijan bro.
Albaka.
Mbaka.
Bara alla service o tariya.
Ha,
bare mo ki janna nun kunu bara tariya.
Janno mi yona forest de bureau. Gambia tonkon na no mbali ya bere. Ha. Birin koyna fo kato.
Bari si kodo kino kato ni fo bolong blabe to.
56 branches mola sota Gambia jang.
Ha?
Ha. Gambia kono ani Gambia bantala bankol. Nka kono kiya bere. Kodo sifa fo falindiro fo nyaadi lafta memmen na kodi to poto nin kodi maraw. Jannom number 1 di nyonta. Andum fana nata anoda enterprise sotale. Wala nyindi ko domorol fana kol fana be firale de dadi ma ni domorol ni fana be teata. Gambia dawda yalo ma fa kendol sotale je.
Ha e wo moyo diat ha.
Apelenta
ni wo ka ni lafta nyelen kendol e bina.
Yalo bukani na ko la baraka ba.
Yalo ndel chosano lo.
Abaraka.
Welcome to the brunch. I'm Lamin Cham, second edition in the new year. So, belatedly, Happy New Year to everybody who is watching us from wherever you are. Welcome to this edition, and I have with me in the studio straight away, journalist Mustapha Darboe. I'm sure you missed to see him. Nyima Camara, regular panelist, but I'm sure you missed her a little bit too. So, both these panelists have some explanation to do as to what they've been up to. But more importantly, I have journalist, activist, and businessman Demba Baldeh from the United States of America. He's been associated with Gainago and Gambian democracy movements in America, and well known too as a successful real estate businessman in the States. We will get to know more about him. Gentlemen and lady, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
All right, this week, $4 billion worth of cocaine seized at the ports in Banjul. We will discuss what we think had happened or should happen, and what the authorities say has happened and what they will do about it. The IEC have now explained why they have to delay the much-awaited voter registration exercise. Do you believe them? We will discuss all that. And of course, recently, the regulatory body, PURA, had taken action against a business operator in the petroleum industry. So, gentlemen, these are the topics we will be discussing today. But first, let's go to our guest in the studio, Demba Baldeh, a long-time Gambian resident in the United States of America, like I said, who've been involved in the media and in pro-democracy movements, Gambian pro-democracy movement in exile, somebody who fought gallantly in the struggle against the tyranny of former President Cham. Is it your first visit since the tyrant was chased out, so to speak?
Thank you very much, Lamin, for having me. Thank you, Nyima. Nice to be here with you. Thank you, Mustapha, as well. Thank you, Kerr, for having me as well. It's a privilege for me to be here. This is not my first time. I was here 2017 after the change.
After the change?
Yeah,
you couldn't
after
have
the
come
change.
before the change? No.
I was here 2005. That was my last trip here. Before I went full-time into the struggle.
Oh, okay. But when you went full-time, you couldn't have come.
No, I couldn't have come. It was too risky for myself and for my family as well.
Good. Now, you, like I said, since 2005, you've been very much prominent in the struggle. You were in the journalist front, Gainago, and all those pro-democracy movements there. How, if this is your first time you talk about it, I would like to know, how do you think the change was achieved? most people will tell you, well, the Gambian people were so oppressed and they had enough of it. Now they came together to say, okay, come rain, come shine, the dictatorship must end. Some would say, no, Jammeh, understood the language of violence that was imminent. That's why he left. What are the factors you think led to this?
The change. So obviously the story of the change, the new Gambia has evolved significantly from the time the struggle was going on, how it happens, and then how eventually change occurred. People have different stories based on depend on who you ask, right? So, but I think there are significant factors, several factors that led to the change. Obviously, a continuous oppression of citizens and just marshalling the space from the citizens and especially from the media was a major factor in leading to the change. I keep saying that one of the fundamental mistakes Jammeh made was to exile the media. That was the most brave mistake that he made, because what he created was actually a shadow media outside that 100% focused on what was happening in the country. The media outside knew more what was happening. We were in tune than what was happening here. So there were several things that happened. Obviously, politically, I mean, Jammeh just keep amassing power and keep consolidating space. And in the end, citizens doesn't have a breathing space. You can just push people so much. In the beginning, a lot of people thought, no, it wasn't me. If I didn't say anything, if I didn't steal anything, if I didn't work in the government, nothing would happen to me. Eventually, that came to be false, because either you said something, you did something, or you went somewhere. Eventually, it happened to you, or it happened to immediate family, or it happened to your next door neighbor. So in the end, everybody was, wow, it's not only him, it's not only her, it's every one of us. So in the end, it becomes, it was become an existential threat. So it's either we all come together and do something, or together we perish. And we had to do something. And I want to add that there were some very, very patriotic Gambians, citizens that were outside that refused to look the other way. They refused to look the other way. Some of us, sacrificed a lot. Maybe some of us, we joined the struggle somewhere along.
You had this organizer called STDG. There was Duga. There was so many other pro-democracy, pro-Gambian democrat, exile pro-democracy. Democratic organization. Yours was STG. Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yes, I came to join the STP. I wasn't anywhere close to
full meaning STP.
The Save the Gambia Democracy Project. So it was actually founded by people like Bankamane, the famous Bankamane. Joe Sambu. You go to Pasamba Jao, obviously. Musa Jeng, the strategists we call them. Same people. You have Keba Foon, Suma Magdi, he was there. You have Chol Benga and others, and a lot more other people. And obviously, Sigajan was a prominent member. Safi Sise was also behind. There's a lot of people that were behind the SDGDP. I came in to join them after 2005. You remember they were also the pioneers of NAD.
NAD, yes.
The first organization to try to form a coalition. Yeah. The SDGDP was the group that invited the opposition leaders to come into to the US and try to come together. So those were the group of people that were there, and it was very, very lonely. We had some other people as well, like Sukai, Christina Sukuna. Nice. I still want to invite her, because this is one lady that was in the United States, that's a US citizen that had no business doing anything with the Gambia. But she was 100% involved in the process. She was there every step of the way. We would be on the phone. I was there more or less like a media person.
Journalist,
a journalist in the background. But obviously I was very much interested in the politics as well, because you cannot separate the two. And the media became one of the biggest victims of the dictatorship. So therefore, anywhere that the media could contribute, I was there. And the politics as well. So HSGDP was very, very prominent in starting this process. There were other groups like other news outlets like the Gambia, what do you call it, the Gambia Democracy Movement, but also you have the Gambia Journal. You have
the Gambia Echo of Ibrahima Sankare,
obviously.
Freedom newspaper of Panderi.
Yes,
Mafanta
Fatou Jaumane, absolutely.
Yeah.
She was very, very prominent. And you also had actually All Gambia.
AllGambia.com.
Yes, All Gambia. We were all contributing to All Gambia before everything started.
Sergio
The Gambia
Bayan and
Journal.
others were
Exactly.
All Gambia.
Exactly. Gambia, what do you
even
call it?
Panderi was also,
Yeah, it's a Freedom.
No, before Freedom.
Yeah, he was working with the Gambia, the All Gambia.
AllGambia.com.
Yes, AllGambia.net. Founded by Buba Sise in Wisconsin.
Okay.
And we also have Yankuba Jambang.
Yeah, Jambang, I know him.
Yes,
from the Observer.
so he also had his own Senegambia news.
I know him from the Observer.
And then you had the Gambia L.
Gambia L, yeah, that was
which actually I think it started.
I think that was the first one.
From Seattle, from the University of Washington.
Yeah.
I think it was either Dr. Sen or somewhere.
Yeah.
People were at the university who started that.
That is when it started.
List was where everything started.
Yes.
And then obviously you had what do you call it again?
Who was?
No, you have Mamadou Camara.
Okay.
Bantaba.
Oh yes,
that was another parallel.
I remember Bantaba.
That was another parallel thing that was happening. Then the PDIS discussions and then a lot of things, a lot of pseudo-names there.
Yes, famous one was Samsar. What was Samsar's pseudonym? Ibu Gay. Yes.
I know. PDIS Samsar?
No, Samsar the ex-soldier.
Oh really?
Ibu Gay.
Yes. Now some of them have been unmasked.
Oh yes, of course.
Sankaranka,
Ibrahim Sankara had Kunkiling Tamala, Kisimanja, Kisimansa.
Exactly. Kuno was there too.
Kuno, yes. Panderi always had his impeccable.
All of these were hosted online. And you still go to Bantaba, they still have the server for Gambia L and Bantaba as well. There were a lot of intense discussions going on politically on those lines. Those things kept everything alive.
According to Jammeh sympathizers, all of you didn't see any positive thing in Jammeh. Every day you bombarded the cyber world with criticisms of Jammeh. After all, there were positive, things you can attribute. Like, for example, his government opened up this Combo Coastal Road, the Combo area where just sleeping giants. He built roads and opened them up, and he built the university, if you like, university extension, etc. I mean, they always claim that you guys make Jammeh, you demonize him so much so that people did not see his positive achievements. At least there was something positive about him. He
Absolutely.
built roads.
Absolutely.
Really contributed to like I told you, the combos were sleeping. Today you look at the combos, I mean, it is gut-ups.
Yeah, no, I mean, actually, it's not true that we do not give Jammeh any benefit of the doubt, or even, there's a lot of diaspora people who supported the change when Jammeh came. Okay. I was here when change happened. A lot of the promises that, that were said, were very, very attractive in the beginning. The accountability, transparency, probably. But in fact, some of us, when we created our networks like Gainaku Radio, we actually always invited APRC folks to come to discuss. Okay. So I mean, but people were focusing on the negatives about how the media was focused on Jammeh. But the issue was compare the two of them. Compare the little developments he was doing here, building roads, building universities, and to human rights violations, and to the killings, and to basically wanting to control the nation, and to enslaving people. So no amount of development is worth sacrificing those things, and that's why people who wanted to promote it, say Jammeh did. We always a lot of us acknowledge that he built universities, he built roads. But come on, I mean, people's freedom cannot be taken away. Nyima, go ahead.
One, what you call the positive is what we expect him to do. That's what we paid him to do.
Exactly, that was his role.
And that's why he won for elections to serve as president to do.
Yes.
The other, which is the human rights violations and the extrajudicial activities that he was doing, is something unimaginable.
Absolutely.
Nobody imagined that anybody who is supposed to be the savior of a nation should do.
Absolutely.
So that is the difference there.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
No, I mean, absolutely, and you can also compare it to other places. I mean, people, let's say Libya, right? And a lot of people say, hey, Gaddafi was good. He gave all his money to his people. His last speech, he said, I gave them everything. I gave them houses. I gave them. What you didn't give them is freedom.
Was freedom and liberty. That's right.
So I mean, you cannot put a price on freedom. And dignity.
I've always said dictators always fail to realize that the most precious possession of a human being is not the good road, it's not the petroleum house built, with gold or silver.
Absolutely.
It's not the best university.
Right.
But the most precious possession of a human being is his life.
Yes.
And what do you do with that man, that life determines how he appreciates.
Absolutely.
So that is always the lesson dictators always forget. Yes. I can build roads, I can, pave the roads with gold, but I can kill at a will, in a whisker of an eye. So that's the trouble Jammeh had, I think.
Yes.
But now that the change that you've been fighting for, you and your ilks have been realized, how do you see the Gambia from 2017 to now? And I want your normal independence analysis, because these days it's very easy for anybody to categorize anybody with one group or the other, and of course with the accompanying insults and derogatory descriptions. So tell us independently, how do you find the Gambia from 2017 to date?
Right. I think there has been significant change. And most of the times when I talk about it, I give the credit to the Gambian people, not necessarily the leadership. Right, obviously the leadership is part of it, but the major credit, the fundamental credit goes to the Gambian people, because they praise, the hot sons, 100 weather sons, went out there and then, sacrificed and really fought this government until the government fell. So the credit first and foremost goes to the Gambian people. You remember the Camara revolution?
Yes.
Almost 80-year-old women out there in the streets. These are elderly women who had no business being out there in that hot sun. They were there protesting. Right. So in the end, all of us, we realize that, what, there is an existential threat here. So we have to do something about it. The change was a historic movement, was a historic thing that happened in the country that was remarkable. If you're in the US right now, people from Ethiopia, from Eritrea, from other countries, they give Gambia as an example. How did you guys do it?
How do you guys do it?
How did you guys do it?
Yeah.
So the credit went to a lot of people. Obviously there were fundamental mistakes made along the way. When I talk about this on my program, I talk about there were 3 phases to the change. Phase number 1 was to defeat the dictatorship. Defeat the dictatorship. Phase number 2 was to establish a transition government. Okay, and that's the most challenging part. The dictatorship, once the country came together, that was a done deal.
Yes.
Right? That happened.
Successful achieved.
But establishing a transition government, or a government that is going to recognize what happened and really take the opportunity to move the country forward, that was a fundamental challenge. And at the end, at that time, nobody talked about, who is going to replace them, or the aftermath of Jammeh. I read a document that Dr. Sen put together, Ablaye Sen, Professor Sen, talking about the aftermath of Jammeh, the transition. The third phase was really the normal democratic process, the normal fight back and forth of having a transparent government, holding your elected officials accountable, and just having a change, consistent change that would happen in a democracy. That was the third phase. We did not get to the third phase. We got stuck at the second, at the transition. And obviously, that's where mistakes happened, because a lot of the times people thought Jammeh was the only problem. That was a fundamental mistake. Jammeh wasn't the only problem. Jammeh was a major problem. But we Gambians, a lot of us were problems as well. We're accomplices to what was happening. Jammeh couldn't have been able to do all he did without Gambian citizens participating. So, but when the change was happening, the leadership was saying, well, it is Jammeh. They think if Jammeh is gone, everything else will be fine and dandy. That was a fundamental mistake. Because they had to realize that it was not only Jammeh, but also a system that was created. And there were people who were running that system. Structurally system, up and down. Wherever you look, it was fundamentally flawed. So it should have been Jammeh out first, and then we look at the system, and we weed out citizens who voluntarily, who were paid, who took oath and office in the office to really help the president loot the country, kill our citizens. We should have hold those people accountable, and then we can move to the next stage. I think that's where the problem happened, but some of us were not surprised, because you cannot bring politicians together and you say they're not going to play politics.
I know.
So they played politics, but a lot of us, they took it for granted. But I think it was a great opportunity for the leadership to come in and really make history. Really position Gambia in the best possible way to transition to the next level.
But I think if I add a little on to that, I think there was also a lot of complacency in the media and also in the civil society not push back.
Yes.
For example, when we had an idea what kind of change we wanted, and immediately the change happened, there were certain institutions and certain people within the government who meant well and they were ready to change the way things were being done.
Right.
For example, I'll give you an example of Golden Lead versus NEA. Immediately after the change, the Gunjur people of Gunjur were complaining a lot. Immediately after the change, NEA took Golden Lead to court. And the government, some ministers intervened and said, no, we will settle this out of court. And that behavior is the old one.
Old one, yeah. That's
Now
the
the
old
new
time.
one was what the NEA wanted to do.
Exactly.
Yes, that
But
now
the
there
new-
is a
yeah.
change and the institutions must now be independent and
do what they
function
are
what they do.
doing, what
And
they were meant to
but the politicians come back against
And
and
there
this.
were a series of examples like this where you have institutions that wanted to do the right thing and you have
Like the army arrested the junglers immediately after the
Usman
change.
arrested the junglers. He
Yeah.
handed them
The army
himself to
handed-
police.
Absolutely.
That's right. Usman or
Usman himself.
Usman
arrested.
so.
Usman Baji. Usman Baji.
Usman Bal.
Yes.
Arrested the
The
junglers with
CDS.
his bodyguards and handed them
handed them over. So
to the
there,
police.
there was a willingness for change.
Absolutely.
But
I
like
think
this,
everybody relaxed after the political environment becomes so muddy. Now you have key coalition partners. You have the Halifa was in the middle there. You have UDP pushing on the Barrow side, and you have NRP almost in the middle. Mai and others, UDP are on the other side.
Right.
Then the coalition become disenchanted. So you have the coalition secretariat that was supposed to also be put in place to monitor the implementation of the manifesto was defunct. It was not existing. So there was nobody within the coalition that was going to make sure that, look, this is the manifesto. We have to keep an eye on the price.
Absolutely.
So all this, a lot of things, but I still believe that, I mean, since there is no jungler, no one is killing anyone, so we can still push.
Yes.
It's still not lost.
If you will allow me to just make up an observation based on what you've just
Absolutely.
mentioned about the
Absolutely.
phases. I think what I've observed, and I think that was also our problem when we defeated Germany, was to assume that these phases that you've listed are mutually exclusive.
Right.
Because they are not.
Absolutely.
They are integrated.
Absolutely.
One source has to go.
Absolutely.
The transitional process that was supposed to take place immediately after Germany was removed was to ensure that we consolidate our democratic gains. And the citizens, like Mustapha have said, our complacency came from the fact that we needed to give these people time to breathe.
Yes.
And we were saying it all the time.
That's what they told.
We have placed big faith in them, and they didn't handle it very well.
Right.
What we should have done is to ensure, to recognize that democracy doesn't wait. It is
Absolutely.
something that you begin right from your initial gain to the end of life.
Right.
And we failed to do that. So that period that we have given them to breathe, to take their time, to do things the right way, was our missed opportunity.
Yeah. In fact, if I may just interject there, this is where I blame the Gambian diaspora a lot, because clearly the diaspora contributed a whole lot towards the change. But after the change happens, there was a lot of rust. And there is one thing that we have to fundamentally agree with. Governments would never give you, the citizens, what they want without demand.
Absolutely.
Without them asking for it.
Absolutely.
So after the change, the diaspora just folded back and just came in and they celebrated everything. Everybody celebrated without, really, keeping their eyes off the ball. There were no demands. There were absolutely no demand to say, you know what, this is how much we contributed to this thing, and this is what we want to.
And this
even
must
now,
happen.
even now,
Yeah.
this government or any other government is not going to yield to the wills of the people without the people demanding it. And they're really asking for government to deliver. And everybody just thought, again, is like, okay, hey, this is party time. Let's dance. People can dance, but I mean, always you must have some serious citizens that really want to focus on the goal. You never rest. It is a continuous process. Absolutely.
Now, I'm now inclined to ask now, after analyzing all the things that you said, we got stuck in the transition stage of it now. Where do we stand now, and who is to blame? And how can we really get things that we intend to do with the change, like reforming the institutions, the personnel, the system change? How can we achieve it now? Now that the whole atmosphere is polarized again, we might have to go back to square one to look at the people who really meant change.
Right. So, I mean, there is enough blame. There is enough blame game going around.
If you talk to people who are just interested in not interested in analyzing deeply, they will say, okay, we blame the UDP and Darboe for emboldening Barrow. Some would say, but does that mean that Barrow also should just throw away everything and capitalize on the confusion and try to be power hungry?
Absolutely.
People will say Doy and others had a lot of influence, but they were too silent,
Yeah.
or perhaps condoning a lot of things from Barrow just because they cannot agree with UDP, etc. Some people will tell you all these things, and some people will tell you still Doy is the solution. I mean, their ideas are still, the ones that stand the test of time. So everybody will come with his opinion. How do we get out of it now?
No, it is very, very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for us to get out of it. You can blame anybody you want. Clearly, the UDP being the majority party, they made fundamental mistakes along the way, and even they would admit. They would admit in the beginning, because they did not see what was coming. Right? It was the same euphoria. Change happens now. We're in charge. Let's go. Jam is out of here now. There were fundamental mistakes. There were some of us who were looking from the outside, who gave us warning signs. Because 3 months into the administration, some of us started cautioning, and people were saying, "Hey, give them chance. You cannot do the same activities you did during Jammeh's time. Give them chance." But there were fundamentals along the way. But also, there were people who gave up. And that's what I say about people like PDOIS, right? Parties like PDOIS. They gave up. They knew from the beginning. The coalition, they played a major role in it. But when they started, when the push and pull started, they retreated in the back, right? And then you cannot fight for something until you get to the door, and then you hand it over to somebody else. But clearly, I say President Barrow is fundamentally responsible for what happens, because we only elect one president at a time.
Doy, because Doy had this well-known principle. I mean, they always exhibit what I would say contentment. They don't want where they meant that serving the people should be really voluntary. Where there's a push and pull, Doy will give way. But then fundamentally, like you said, many people share the view that if they had really taken up influential positions in the coalition, perhaps not even UDP would have allegedly, hijacked the coalition idea, thought that it was theirs, until their own man kicked them out, so to speak.
The way I say it is that they needed to be at the table. They say you are either on the table or you are at the table. You are either at the discussions, being a part of the process, or somebody else is going to be deciding on your behalf. So what happens to Doy, right? When the push and pull started again, they retreated back. And you cannot do that. They're always content. They're always content, they're easy. But if you are content in politics, you're always going to remain that content, that little space.
Yeah, but they don't want to cut corners or
you don't have to cut corners, but you have to fight for I even mentioned this.
Right. Yes.
So it is nobody
in fact, Doy contributed immensely.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So my point is the outcome. Everybody has an equal stake on the outcome. So we do not have. We cannot be afforded the opportunity to retreat when things are tough.
Yes.
I think that's the point.
When the blame game started,
exactly.
People you don't want to be blamed for what happened, so therefore you retreat. But actually, what you're retreating away is a major stake. And at the end of the day, you might say, "I told you so." But what you fought for has not been achieved fundamentally.
And I think that there is one fundamental thing Gambia has been missing from the Jambe days, and perhaps even from the Jawara days. And we've seen that in the Barrow days. And unless we fix that one, we will not move forward, and that's accountability.
Yes.
The players who are in the system are one thing, but how about the players who are watching, the one who is watching the policeman?
Yes.
The players who are outside of the system, trying to make sure those who are inside do the right thing. So whether PDOIS was in the midst of things, or UDP was in the midst of things, or anyone was in the midst of things, accountability is fundamental. And it's up to even the supporters of UDP to understand that whatever it is in the hands of the leadership to do, it's about their lives.
Yes.
You understand? Like, if your party leader loves you, every decision he must make must be in your interest. He does that or he doesn't do that. If he doesn't do that, you show your party leader, look, this thing you did is not in my interest, and I'm not going to be part of it. I think that's missing in the Gambian politics.
Yes.
There is no accountability. Whether even if you vote, bring Abubakar Siddiq from the grave and make him Gambia's president without accountability, he messes up.
Absolutely.
Anybody you make president without accountability, institutions are going to function, the media is going to function, civil society is going to function. Look at Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump, it's a more mightier dictator than Jammeh. If you look at all the things he says and does, he's a more mightier dictator than Jammeh. But every institution is trying to pull the other way. If he push the other way, they try to pull the other way. So with that kind of resistance.
But you know, I mean, accountability, you know.
I want to explore from your point of view, your point of view on what should be done and could be done to take it out of the mess. You say.
Well, I mean, before I get there, the accountability that you are talking about, accountability is not only for the people who are in charge. Accountability starts with us, individual citizens. You have to hold yourself accountable before you can hold anybody else accountable. So basically what I observe is everybody is complaining, from the president all the way down. But there are very, very few people who are doing something to make the change. To push. Change starts with us as citizens. Change starts with us. But I mean, if you want to blame, you know, let's say people say they blame everything on Barrow. Okay, it's not true, because there are people who are in charge of institutions. For example, let's say you go to Ministry of Health, you go to Ministry of Agriculture. These people have their fundamental independence to function the way they are supposed to function. You took an oath of office as a citizen, a bona fide citizen. You must carry your duty to the best of your abilities, instead of you saying, "Oh, you know, it's from the head or from the top or whatever." Everybody is just pushing the cart to the next person. But I mean, what needs to happen, I think, you can go in before I go in there. You know.
Yes. I just make a few observations. And the reason why I want to bring this up is because we continue to have this conversation.
Right.
We want to place the blame back to the people.
Right.
Of course, everybody needs to take responsibility and we need to be accountable.
Yes.
But these are things that do not happen by chance.
Absolutely.
Right? And the reason why people point to Barrow is because he has the biggest opportunity to build that culture.
Yes.
This is a culture you build. It is not something that is formed based on the trial. And we sit and say, oh, this needs to happen. This no. You put in structures, you put in institutions, you put in laws that make sure that this culture is built. And that's what we have foreseen in 2016 when the change began to happen. Right. We felt that we now have an opportunity. People are enthusiastic. People are ready to work with the government. People want to help the government do things that serves all of us. And that is the opportunity we have missed, we've lost, and the president is highly, highly responsible.
Absolutely. Ultimately, the president, the buck stops with the president. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, the president would not give us what we want unless we demand it. No leader would ever do it around the world. So the people have to demand it. The people have to, we have to continue to organize. We have to organize. In fact, I thought about, you know, I talk about it to other people, building a civil society that is multi-layered, that is financially independent, non-political, a civil society that has a branch that is responsible for the law. Let's say the bar association. Okay. Now what is that? One branch is looking at environment. One branch is looking at youth employment. So one branch is looking at the legislation. If anything happens in those areas, people would organize and would demand accountability. And make sure that
you just don't take to this,
we make sure that we employ people.
Absolutely.
We employ people that are not. This is not voluntary.
Absolutely.
We employ people that are paid to organize our youths. We have a lot of young people in the Gambia. We must organize and organize.
Absolutely.
Have been lost. The dictator united. The fight against the dictator united everybody from all political persuasion. But once the dictator was gone, the people who were fighting, they got into power, they now cannot organize themselves independently now because they are divided politically. That's where the problem is now.
Well, I mean,
like you people in STGD, the people in Duga, today you want a united front, against Barrow. You are likely to have people who are very much now entrenched in the NPP and they will oppose you, whatever that effort. So the problem is we lost the focus for the nation, the national interest that we have when we were fighting Jammeh. We lost that now. Now you cannot organize people independently now. Is that not the problem?
I think the problem is that we are focusing on the wrong things.
Yes.
The solution will not come from the politics. The solution will come from outside.
Yes.
It's the media, it's you, me, it's the government, it's the civil society that's going to make sure. Let's reduce the politician to an employee. The employee will not fix the problem. The employer must fix the problem. Right? Now, if you, like for example, if there is a price to it, like someone does something and the person is exposed, someone steals people's money and is exposed and is taken to court and is prosecuted, these are some of the things that we would have to do to fix the problem. Right. If we change this and the next government probably becomes UDP or PDYs, and it will still be the same problem. Yeah. Unless there is a price to messing up with the people and people's money, there will continue to be a problem.
Yeah, but there must be political will. When you expose all these things, what you expect is the people in the authority to act, to fix those things.
The people in authority will act if they know that if they don't, we will flood the streets and make the country a mess.
Okay, that's
they will act. You don't sit at one place and expect that politicians do the right thing.
That's right.
They never do.
That's the problem.
Absolutely. But you know,
I mean the Gambians.
Holistically, that affects everybody has a role to play in this, whether it's civil society, whether it is the media, but most importantly also the judiciary and the legislature. We cannot count them out. Right. If you want to build a strong democracy, you want these institutions to be really strong and functioning. So we are looking at parts of a whole, but we need to look at it holistically. Who needs to play a role and how well must they do it? The judiciary and the legislature is very important as well.
But what he is saying, so, from the point of view he is talking about,
so I mean the judiciary is just one institution. You go to the government, the executive is another institution. You go to the legislature, it's another institution, right? All these institutions are accountable to who? To the people. So until the people organize and they demand, if the National Assembly, when they voted out that that draft constitution, if the people went to Parliament, okay, I'm not asking them to go and violent,
like
right? But people go in there and they organize and they demand, right? I went to Brikama Market, right? You go to Brikama Market, you see the road.
But you are making that's what I'm trying to say. I'm saying that we lost that national, that united front we had in fighting Jammeh. We lost that now, because if you want to organize people to go to Parliament on that day, you are going to have a counter rally in support of the people who who voted against the draft. So we are united. That's right. We are divided.
We were never united.
We who are 3 years Jotna who wanted Barrow, to step down. We had a rival organization who want him to stay. So I'm telling you that
we were never
But then
united.
where will we go? And against Barrow, against Jammeh, we were united.
So,
what is the way forward? Let's get to that.
So let me, that's the mistake that that's the mistake that you're making. We were never united.
But we had
a common enemy.
A common enemy.
So that's not unity.
So today we don't have a common enemy.
People mistake that all the time. We had an existential threat. That was a threat to you, that was a threat to me, that was a threat to everybody else. So therefore you had no choice but to fight what I was fighting.
Yes.
Right? I had no choice, even though I didn't like you, but at least I was willing to to fight with you to get rid of this enemy.
Okay,
but there was a fundamental division.
What is the difference now?
It's what's different now.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling
you. Is that we have a country that is free. Okay? Yeah. So, I mean, we're still not united on a common purpose that is taking our country to the next level.
Yes.
I keep mentioning this. There's a difference between being a citizen of a country and being a patriotic citizen of that country. Okay? We have citizens of the Gambia. People who were born here, brought here, they say, we love this country. But really, how many people are truly patriotic that are going to go out there every single day and do the work for the people and expect less returns, less personal gains from it? This is what we lack, and this is what we have to start. We have to start building from the ground up. We have to build that nationalistic movements where people care more about the country.
Absolutely.
You get out in the street, right, with your Mercedes Benz or with your Pajero or with whatever you have, a Dodge or something. You're driving on dirt roads. You're seeing little kids roaming around. You have to see yourself in those things. This is what we are, and this is where our leadership is important. This is where we're expecting the leadership to show a sign, to rally the people, give the youth hope, right? Give the people, rally the people of this country. We're a small country, but we're very, very resilient people.
Yeah,
we're very, very resilient people.
Absolutely.
So it's a matter of having that leadership that's going to get us focused to move to the next level with a common goal. The common goal is not to put one person in power or one party in power. The common goal is to move the country forward, regardless of who's in charge.
Okay.
No matter who's in charge.
You mentioned we're stuck at the stage of transition now.
Yes.
So this means this government, which was meant to be transitional, is not being transitional now. Is that not where the problem lies?
That is a big fundamental problem. But guess what? That's not going to solve itself unless we demand it. So I would advocate one more time, because President Barrow squandered a golden opportunity to really become one of the historic citizens of this country.
You cannot
to make history. He had a golden opportunity to do that. He could have united this country and move us to the next level.
And now his supporters said he didn't do that because UDP emboldened him not to do that.
Of course. So, I mean, but we only have one president at a time.
Okay.
One president at a time. No matter all the noise that you hear, we only elect one president at a time.
Yeah.
That president has a duty to make sure that this country moves to the next level, not based on which political party or who occupies the most position or who has the most expensive cars, but how this country is going to move forward. And they talk about development. You talk about development, they don't even know what development means. Development is not doesn't mean about constructing roads out there. You know, like going out there, you talk about 800 meters of road or something like that. Everybody's showing me the streets of Banjul right now. Look, this is what we call development. That's no development, I mean, you know, Jammeh constructed roads.
Yeah, exactly.
Jammeh built universities.
Oh, yes.
He built hospitals.
Yes.
Jawara did the same thing.
Schools.
Yeah. But where does that leave us?
Yeah,
50 years later.
Any better?
This is where we are. That's why we need to reorient our people. We need to have a different mindset for our citizens to start thinking at a different level.
That's where the issue is now. Every country that progresses has to build that critical mass of citizenry that understands their
what
role
is
in
development?
democracy.
Absolutely. And what is development? Because like he said, most of the critics of the government is saying that the government didn't even know what the priorities. Now, there's this much talk about roads being built, bridges being built, but go to the market right now and try to find a cup of oil. Jump from $11 to $15. Everything's gone up, and those are the basic. Everything. Those are the basic.
There's no fish in the market.
There's no fish sector. Those are the basic daily things that the people will really appreciate you more if you can fix.
A lot of things are wrong.
I want to agree with you where we missed.
7 mothers died. 7 mothers died in 1 week, childbirth, in just 1 week.
Exactly, leaving behind kids.
Leaving behind kids, we had triplets, we had twins, we had every kind. You don't understand now what. Sometimes if I see the statistics, I doubt. I say somebody's exaggerating.
Well, those were still happening.
Well, actually, they are still happening.
Absolutely.
I can't believe.
I want
no, but I mean, not to now.
If you allow
Or is it that they are getting more publicity now than before?
Maybe. I think so.
Yeah. I just wanted to make a few comments about what you said about development. Everywhere in the world where people develop, where countries develop, development is supposed to be empowering. It's the people you lift up. By working on their productivity and their creativity, you create the space for them to nurture their minds and to contribute individually to their development. It's not the roads you build. The roads would enhance that human development itself, but it is not the ultimate development goal that we have. This is where we fail as a government, to recognize that it is the people you work on, you work on their minds, you work on their creativities, so that they can produce and add value to that society. We miss that completely.
Absolutely.
And there is also a fundamental thing, and citizens let it pass, because if you look at all the key productive areas of our economy, they don't talk about those. For example, you will never hear them say, oh, we have a very good plan and it's actionable, and then there is funds for it to make sure that we cut on our rice importation, right? And we know we import rice, or almost over 3/3 of the rice we consume, we import. And or for example, you're talking about oil and the price of oil here. Saro has been steadily and slowly on a decline from Jammeh's days to now. We can't even expand it to make sure that our groundnuts that are here are not sold necessarily, but we can use it to make other products out of our own groundnuts, so that also, because a lot of groundnuts that are taken out of this country, they are affected by aflatoxin. You either have a very poor price for it or they are returned. So these are things we don't sit down. Anywhere we have to sit down to think creatively and get out of it, we fail. The only thing that we do is to build a road, because that's the easiest. You just have to sit at a place and say, I want to build Nyima, and then banks go and give you money, and the banks make money out of it. The loan, banks make money, and you bill it.
Absolutely.
Government is very important. That's why it's everybody's business to have an opinion as to how a government should be run. But these days, interestingly and sadly, when you talk about the government on the Barrow and you criticize the way it is going, somebody thinks you want Khalifa to be there, not Barrow, or Darboe to be there, not Barrow. That's your. They will reduce your. They will reduce your arguments. Yeah, that's right.
Our problem
they will
is
reduce
not
your arguments because you want Khalifa to be there and not Barrow. That's why you are criticizing government.
Our problem is not an individual leader necessarily. Our problem is a collective problem.
It is.
But we need that leader.
But we need an inspirational leader.
We need somebody that can rally us around a common purpose. But I mean, as mentioned this earlier, unless the citizens start organizing, you talked about the babies that have been dying and the mothers that have died. But there is a movement, and it gave me hope, right? Modest, it says women's life matter, right? Now this is where differences would come in. Citizens need to create non-profit organizations or movements. Advocate. They advocate for their championship, and they lobby government, they lobby citizens to vote according to that. You go to the lawmakers to lobby them for a certain cause, like for example for this maternity, this maternity issue. You lobby people, you have people who champion that. You have people, advocates, organizations that are advocating for a certain purpose. Whether it's law, whether it's health, whether it's environment, you have those things, independent organizations.
Exactly.
That are getting their own fundings from the citizens. The citizens will say, we believe that there should be an environmental regulation here. We believe that there should be real estate regulations here or reforms here. So therefore, I'm going to donate money for these people to champion this. And they start lobbying the voters.
I really would love to have your listings on those real estate, because the real estate problem is a big problem and you have a lot of experience over there. But then let's talk about one big thing. That's the seizure of these 4 billion worth of drugs at the Port Authority last week. We were told one Banta Keita, and the government yesterday, one would have said belatedly, come now to add their voice to the investigations. I mean, in the past when we asked government officials, they said, well, the drug law enforcement agency are the people who they are handling it very well. But now I think after a lot of pressure, the government itself have come from the top level. You would have this kind of seizure, if you were in America or somewhere, you would have seen the interior minister or perhaps somebody like him coming out in the public said, well, yes, this government will not tolerate this thing, but then at the beginning it was all left in the hands of the National Drug Enforcement Agency. Now we had a government in the person of the spokesman conveying a very serious and very seriously worded statement from President Barrow saying no stone will be left unturned in the pursuit of the people who supposedly brought this drug into the country. When you had it, were you surprised? 4 billion worth of, or 3 tons of cocaine?
I'm not surprised the least.
Why?
I am not the least surprised. See, we have a reactive government. And it's usually too little, too late when they come in. When Mr. Sankara and others come in to issue a press release, they worded it strongly, and the damage has already been done. I am not the least surprised that there is a container that would come through the ports. We just shipped a container out here with clearing a vehicle and all that. Yes. I went to the ports and I posted something on Kainago. I did a video and I saw hundreds, if not thousands of containers stacked on each other. Now, how even the people navigate from the gate to the other end, only God knows how they're able to do it. Anything could pass through that port. Anything. Yes. Absolutely. Because there is absolutely no system at all. It's that you can come in and maneuver. If you know somebody, they can hold your hand and you get through to the gate. You are out of here. I mean, so we have citizens who are in charge. Forget about the president and the government right now for a minute.
Yeah, that's right.
We have ports authority, the ports people who are in charge. We have the SIS in charge. Those people have primary responsibilities to make sure that there is safety and security at the port. If you don't have it and you continue to serve in there, you keep saying the government is not doing this. The ports collects over $1 billion. Is it GRA or the ports? They collect a lot of money.
GRA through the ports.
They collect a lot of money. But you find in there, even the containers, they have to document everything on a paper in the modern times that we're in right now.
Just on a piece of
If
paper.
you have containers, if you have a system where containers are registered one by one through the system, and you can clear them real quickly, you can inspect them real quickly. You think those things are going to be able to get in? They would hardly get through. But it's just we always look at these things as very minor. Oh, it's a problem that nobody can solve. It can be solved. The government, their fundamental problem is they always take these things very, very little. And that's why when people say the government is clueless, this is what they're referring to. Now, if a drug bust like that happens, you know that the whole global world is focused on it.
Yeah.
It's a major issue. So you have a tiny government in West Africa that has no security. Now, this drug is coming in, weapons are coming in, terrorism is coming in, and you take that lightly as a government.
That cannot be taken.
There should have been fundamental reforms at the port.
There would have been a prompt government action from the highest level.
Absolutely.
Not until when, all sort of speculations and theories have been bandied around.
But what are they doing? They're constituting a commission again to investigate. One that is going to die a slow death at the executive level. And you want people to really praise you or to support you when you are doing some of the basic things you are not doing those. I mean, how do you expect really informed citizens to really stand there and start clapping for you? When some of these basic things are not happening. And this is a threat to all of us, to our children.
Absolutely,
it's a very serious. And today is drugs. Go ahead.
To what you said.
Yes.
If you are a helpless citizen like myself and you hear that such an amount of drug has been confiscated, you want to believe at least somebody is doing their job. Because the question that raises is, on how many occasions do we have drug coming into this country that has not been confiscated?
Yes.
So this particular one is a win for the country. Right? The fact that it was not allowed to enter. Right? But it raises so many other questions as well. Right? For example, you have the National Drug Law Enforcement Authority, which has a designated role to play to make sure that drugs do not get into the country and the citizens are not placed at risk. If they do their job, it is the administration of today that should lead the condemnation of drugs coming in. When they fail to do that, then we have questions about how is it even possible for one individual, as they have mentioned, to contemplate such a move, but also to be so bold, to have to traffic it through so many other countries. I counted at least 3 or 4 before it gets into the country. What I believe is that the information that this drug is on the way might have begun somewhere else. It might have been spotted somewhere else.
Yes.
For the Gambia to be on the alert, to know that this is coming in, and so that this person does not get away, because it cannot be one individual. Not exactly.
Well,
the
you
point
know
now is, whether we know it or not, so many high-profile people have to be involved. Because that is the only thing that can give confidence to this guy, that this amount of drug can come into the country and he will be successful in bringing it out of the port. Now we have lost the opportunity to know that, because the person who is supposed to tell that story is allowed to leave. And I don't also understand.
Not allowed to leave, sir.
Allowed to leave. The reason why I said allowed to leave the country. The reason I said allowed to leave the country is this. The way we handle information in this country is really pathetic. The information that people require, we don't give to them. The information that you need for your investigation so that you can to arrest this person without him being aware of it, that's what we share with the public. You confiscate drugs. This person is at large. Immediately you go to the media and say, this is the person we are looking for. This is his date of birth.
He will go.
This is his nationality. Are you not telling him to run away before you get to him? That's the information you share publicly. What are you trying to tell us?
I think.
But Nyima, let me just come in there.
The drug law enforcement. They said this is not any investigation or any tip that emanated from outside. This was their own intelligence and their own discovery. That's what they said.
It's not true.
That's what they said. And they said also that Baldeh Kerr, who was supposed to have owned the drugs, was in the country until at least Friday, when his telephone stopped working. And then they picked Sheriff Njai, who was the person who came there to receive the consignments. So now, that's the most they can say, because they said any other thing they would say might be tipping off the criminals' plan. But then, like she said, a lot of other questions have been raised. Perhaps, in fact, I think Mustapha, you said you have an even better investigative, intuitive, if you were the one investigating. Let us know that.
No, it doesn't make sense to me actually, because I mean, even in a matter, for example, if you had already gone to find out, you've noticed there is a drug shipment here, and the drug is there, the container is there, someone has come to pick it up. Even an amateur would naturally let the person take the drug.
Undercover.
You will bug the drug and let them take it. And he is going to take it to Banta and the people.
And then you grab Banta
and
know who else and who else.
You just go, open a container at the ports, and take out all the drug, and you
make noise. You call the press.
Because the whole point is that you want the person who is bringing the drug.
Yeah. So you mean, according to you, they really acted prematurely.
It was too premature.
They should have still continued intelligence until the people who actually own it received it, thinking that they have escaped.
They said Banta, from the information I've had, Banta was somewhere in his house, right? Now, no drug cartel moves drug. Drug cartels like big drug loads.
They don't touch. They don't come near.
No. Drug loads like Pablo and others, they sit at their place and their errand boys run things. So Banta is obviously an errand boy.
Sirif Njai.
Bano, I mean,
Banta, you mean Banta himself?
Of course.
And he's a scapegoat too. I believe he's a scapegoat.
Of course, he has escaped.
They're scapegoating him.
And that's that's the one thing. Now Banta, they don't let them move the drug so they would get Banta, and ultimately they will also know which warehouse they are taking it, because they said it's going to be it's a drug on transit, but it's obviously going to be lodged at a warehouse. You let them take it, you bust them, and hopefully the main person, and that's one thing. Two, when they are going to hunt for Banta, Banta had a local passport, and he had a French passport, but the local passport was not announced. It was the French passport that was published.
Yes.
Now, how about if he was using his local passport when he got to the border? Obviously, no one is going to know.
Maybe they didn't say, it wasn't clear whether he even holds a Gambian passport. What they said was...
Oh, he did. I can tell you. No, he did. He holds a Gambian passport. He holds a Gambian passport, but then there are so many other issues. Like, we don't know who owns the Baldeh.
They said
there was a shipment. There was a company called Baldeh Logistics.
They bring in cars mostly.
Yes, but then the shipment, the consignee, the shipment was they named in as a consignee. Now, all these drug cartels, money launderers, they use shell companies. These briefcase companies that don't exist in reality. They exist in name. And they registered them in this country. This country is a cell wall. How many companies do we register a day that don't even exist? A month that don't even
But they are waiting for only one big transaction and they disappear.
Yeah. From what I had, an average of 240 containers are registered in this country. 240 companies are registered in this country every year. Where do they go?
They go.
Really? And we don't even know where these companies exist. And this is some of the issues that are happening. So we are creating a shell wall, a shell company wall that could be used by money launderers and drug cartels to move drug. And then we don't also do...
So you don't believe in the security when they said this was their own initiative, intelligence. They're the ones who really discovered this from their own intel, because they suspected that, wow, industrial salt, that's not normally imported in this big quantity into the country, so there must be something suspect. They said the discovery was their own, no internal, no outside police or Interpol sources were involved.
Why is that even the most relevant information?
Why is that even? That's the question.
Because there were speculations online that somebody.
That's not the most important.
Somebody followed the trail of these things.
The most important thing is how successful are they now after they have busted this transaction?
Well,
how successful are they now?
Even though some people have said that guy just must be just a tool who maybe don't even know what was happening. But then these are all left to investigate.
There is no political will. There is no, we need some serious citizens. As Mustapha just said, if you really want to bust into the drug war, you have a container like that coming into this country. This world is more sophisticated than we are making it to look like. This guy has contact from the way the container was loaded. You could have taken a month to investigate this container. Get the connections on this guy from all the way where he lives in Europe or wherever he lives. Get his connections, get his contact, tap his phone, monitor every movement in this country about drugs. If you want to get to the bottom of it. So, come on, even in the US, the police would, take credit for some, some things on the surface.
Of course.
When the security said, "Oh, this is our doing," we uncovered this. Come on, man. If you're really serious, you can get to the bottom of it. We need people to say, you know what? This is a fundamental threat to me as a citizen, to my kids, to my grandkids, to everybody in this country. And therefore, we're going to tap. Listen, I mean, this is what these dictators survive. This is how they survive. They monitor and survey everything until they know where everything is, and they go after those people. You cannot just, everybody's blaming this one guy now, he ran away. And you think that this is a network.
Absolutely, it's
and
never
they
one man.
into the bottom of this network.
Never one man.
$88 million worth
of
of drug, and people are even saying it could
180, was it 80 bucks or 18 bucks?
This is incredible.
No, that's
it's
correct.
incredible.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
Yeah, and the painful thing is the administration's silence on it.
Until
this
yesterday.
has a potential to truly damage this country.
Well, you
imagine
see,
if the Gambian
like what
youth
he
have
said,
had access
the amateur way in which it was handled,
Yeah.
From his point of view, which is very valid. I mean, if this was another country, the very day it was discovered, the drug enforcement agencies would have been there with the Minister of the Interior, with all the Minister of Defense, if there is any, all of them would have been there, and to be heard and to be seen that, look, this thing is a very serious matter, and we as a government, we are concerned. Our drug law enforcement agency have missed this boss, and they will be, but then they waited. At the time when we asked government officials, they said, no, these things about drug, even the Inspector General doesn't handle these things.
They should
it
have
is a drug enforcement. That's what they said.
This, Lamin. They should have investigated it for a month. Delay that container. Use some tactics to delay that container from clearing. Investigate the people coming into this container. Investigate who are the links. Investigate where this is going. Before you, it's easy to come up with
You even have a company that's a consignee.
Yes, exactly.
You know people who are the people behind that company, who registered it.
You know
the companies also the shipment, the shell corporation behind the shipment. If it's a shell corporation, who is behind it? Who registered it? Where?
Yes.
I mean, even journalists, people like us can actually get contacts from people. I mean, you can even know who registered a company in Holland. Anywhere in the world. Even just one person behind the desk.
So now we have had the government finally coming up, promising that very strongly that even from the level of the president, that this matter is serious and they're going to get to the bottom of it.
You know the problem with that. The problem with that is that, come on, Gambia, Gambia is not built today. We have a history. We know how our drug law enforcement officers dealt with other drugs.
I have zero confidence.
Exactly.
I have zero confidence in this government getting to the bottom of it. Few people are going to get arrested. They're going to prosecute them, and they will say, "See, this is what we did." They have no political will to get to the bottom of it. In fact,
they haven't
as
made
Mustapha
it
said, if they follow these companies who register,
but so far we have not seen. Well, it's too.
It is not their priority. Let's begin there.
Too soon in the investigation.
Secondly,
anybody's involvement at the government level, we haven't seen that.
Secondly,
yes, absolutely.
It is there.
Yes.
They would. Come on, man.
I want to say, every time I see a government press release where they say a task force has been constituted,
or no
I know it's their way of saying we're not going to do anything about it. We're just delaying so that you guys forget about it and we move on.
Now, this is one thing that will not go away.
We've seen that happen all the time.
But
the problem
this will
is
not be like Bondo. It will not be.
You see, if we want, for people, this takes me back to one of the questions you asked about which party is in power, which party is not in power. You see, the problem is, even if you have Darboe as a president or Halifa or whatever, or party or Samba, and you don't like them, you're still paying him. He's still using your resources. The problem is, at this country, people must begin to take seriously that the matters of presidency is matters of their life. It's life and death. When the president or anybody in authority refuses to do their job, people die. People go to prison. People get sick. That's what happens. getting government to function is a matter of life and death.
Yes.
People don't understand that.
No.
It doesn't matter whether Barrow is the president or Barrow is not the president.
That's the problem.
Mustapha, take it down from the president.
Yeah.
All the way down.
Yeah.
To the security guard who is standing here controlling traffic.
Yeah.
You don't do your job, people die.
People die.
You messed up the society.
Yeah.
So it's not only the president, you bring it down. It doesn't matter who is in power. Wherever you are as a patriotic citizen, you do your job to the best of your ability.
Absolutely.
Defending
And
your
we've
country.
not seen that with these drug things. I mean, you go to a drug, you arrive there, you open the container, you take pictures and you send it on WhatsApp to people. I mean, you tell them we have a drug bust. This is so big. It's not big. We've not get the people behind it. It's not big.
It's not yet big.
We've not even.
All right.
We don't even know if there are other drugs.
So, 4.5 billion worth of drugs seized now, which the NDA bought Banta Keta, allegedly, who is supposed to be the owner, is on the run. Gambia government
in Senegal, and yet we have a hot pursuit agreement with Senegal.
How do you know it's in Senegal?
They said he crossed the Silit border.
But I didn't see that in any official.
Of course, that's what they said.
Where?
That's what someone told me.
Mustapha,
and they're blaming you guys now. They're blaming the journalists now.
Oh, we have an agreement with Senegal to get.
Well, he couldn't have. Been on a plane out now.
Well, now there is an Interpol red notice.
He's perhaps your neighbor right here.
Because
some people. How many weeks later do we have a Interpol red notice?
I think about a week.
What?
Yeah.
You mean?
Yeah, we had somebody arrested by Interpol.
Exactly.
I mean, the guy who was
after he must have reached his safe haven. Like you wait until this many days.
But we will get to the bottom of it.
Absolutely.
I think the good thing about the Gambia now is that there are people who willing to do what is necessary to get things done.
And
whether the government wants that or they don't want that, that will be
people will always come out with what they think is in the interest of the country. Okay, the government said they're going to really do all their best to investigate and get to the bottom of it.
Amen.
Now, the independent electoral, that's the final, the independent electoral commission now said they had to postpone the general registration of voters because they could not agree with the Gambia Public Procurement Agency as to criteria eligibility for the company they want the voter exercise contract to be given to. You had it on the radio and the media. What was your reaction? Because you see, the people of diaspora are very much concerned about this electoral cycle simply because it's going to be the first time that they will be registered.
It's mind-boggling.
How do you react when you heard it was postponed?
It is mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling.
Mind-boggling. And the fundamental thing is that if you had a serious government, a serious leadership, that's a recipe for people to be fired, to lose their jobs.
Because they knew people in the diaspora. You measured Gambian ways too high and at the level of the
that's where the
standards in the US.
That's where the problem is. Listen, it's not Gambian standard, it's human standard.
Okay.
Right? What happens in the diaspora are human beings like us. They're smart, they're intelligent, they're educated like anyone. They just care about their own. That's the difference. It's not. There is no Gambian standard and US standard. There is human standard. It's either substandard or but I can tell you. I can tell you that's a recipe for. If I were the leader, that's a recipe for those people to try their heads to roll.
But
they knew months.
President Barrow on record publicly to said he had personally warned the IEC not to delay the electoral process.
But then there was no supervision to make sure that in fact there was an agreement to procure those things months ago to procure, because when they tender those things, the contract that they wanted to give to a company, the story is that there was no agreement. Parliament refused to approve it. When did they know Parliament did not approve it?
Even Ministry of Finance also approved.
When did they know it wasn't approved? When did they know that the contract was not awarded to a legitimate person? It's been months, but everybody was sitting on it. Nobody cares about what happens if an election registration is postponed. Anybody who cares? Does anybody care? Really, that's the question. Is like, anybody care if registration of voters are postponed here, or even if elections are postponed?
And again, they did not consult the stakeholders before they take that decision.
Somebody has to follow up on this. This is where the leadership fails from the top bottom to the bottom. The IEC, the heads of the IEC must roll out. Accountability. You do your job or you are out. That's where leaders, you have a backbone. And you stick with the consequences no matter what happens. You don't look at, okay, maybe the IEC, the person is there is going to favor me. Or I'm going to put somebody is there who is a member of my political party. Come on, man. Some of these things that happen in Lamin, this is just, it's just,
yes, because we had,
it's crazy.
As if that was not enough, we had an attempt to appoint vice chairman of all
That's
positions.
what I'm talking about.
And only for people, you know, schoolboys to indicate that actually this is not possible because this man is already a member of a political party.
It's just incredible.
When I heard about it, honestly, to tell you the truth, I felt insulted. And the reason why I felt insulted is because I understand this to be the most important process that we have in our entire democratic process. Allowing people a voice to choose their leader. That is something that you cannot play with. And to come out to simplistically state that that process has been postponed without giving it a new date, that is insulting to me. It's just, it's like somebody just postponing their birthday. Birthday celebration.
Exactly.
Like it shouldn't work like that. We take people for granted in this country to an extent where you don't even understand what is our understanding about democratic process. Like this is an entity that belongs to us. It's a contract that the governors and the governs have. That is not something you take lightly because you making decisions on behalf of the people. It's not supposed to be personal. So if you have something like this, a major change like this, it should be backed by very strong reasons, and the reasons must be known to the people. If this was anywhere else other than the Gambia, people are going to be on the street the next day.
Absolutely.
Right? And I agree with you the fact that we are not taking it seriously, and I include myself in that process. When I saw it, I expected the political parties to come out and say, especially those in the opposition, to say, how can this be possible?
They did that.
Well, we had press releases.
The CA,
we had press
UDP.
Releases, but has that been followed
But
by
Lamin,
action?
I mean, there was a timetable.
I understand that, if you will allow me a little bit, I understand that the civil society has met and they are in discussions with the IEC, and that's why when the IEC came back to say, it was because of their conflict with Pura and etc., etc. But I hope that that conflict can be solved now, because that cannot hold the country at ransom.
The IEC Director of Communication was here. They said they've now restricted the bid to 4 companies, but already it appears that they've made up their mind that ESI, the company's name, is the most competent and suitable for this job. One, they didn't have time, they don't have the experience. These other people, they don't know how much experience do they have in whatever they are supposed to do. So they want to believe that that company of...
I said Pura, I wanted to say GPPS.
Yeah, Pura is another...
Pura is a different...
It's another fish.
No, I mean,
what do you make of the...
Just before you come in, right? Before you come in, I mean, you guys have a timetable. It is as basic as running your home, right? There were meetings that were held before about these procurements. There is timetable. There are permanent secretaries. There are secretaries who are supposed to keep track of all these things. 6 months before registration begins, you must make sure that all those boxes are checked. It's a simple process. It's not rocket science. It's just a matter of somebody doing their job. Somebody is responsible to make sure that this timetable is checked. This has procurement been agreed on. Somebody else checking here. It's a matter of taking responsibility, but everybody wants to kick the can to somebody else. And in the end of the day, it's a story of everybody, nobody, and somebody. Nobody end up doing it. Mustapha, sorry about that.
Voters registration. And the reasons given.
He's investigating.
I mean, I don't know. I think for me, the most interesting thing, the most important thing, for the media in that is probably to do their own background checks on the companies, and probably IEC also be a little more transparent with regards to why they're insisting on giving it to this particular company. If that information should be in the public space, information is supposed to be available for the citizens to understand why public officials act on their behalf in a certain way.
Right.
That's very important. If there is that little bit of transparency, citizens would have been in a position to understand whether IEC was in fact right or wrong. But if you just come out a 2-sentence statement to say we are not holding an election for a country with 2 sentences, we are not holding an election and no explanation. I mean, that no one would do that in any serious country. You would do that and explain.
That's what it means.
And explain. We will not.
If there is no registration,
but
there can hardly be an election.
Comparison. They said 2011 and 2016 or whatever. They were able to conduct registration within a short time. In fact, they started in May. And there was election in September, so they believe they had more time.
Yeah, but we will have to register. We will have to do the registration and get the election equipment before election, right? Yeah. A plane that's on steep descent is ultimately going to hit the ground, right? So if you don't do those processes, you're not going to get to the election. Yeah. And that's why it's important. Yeah. If you are going to tell people that, tell them and give them a reason. If you are going to tell them about the GPPA, problem with the GPPA, remember, IEC is a public institution. It cannot violate procurement regulation. If it does, it's a criminal offense.
And what about the attempts to bring in a vice chairman? And in fact, we later hear
my problem with
the president or a government who can appoint it is instead. It is members of the IEC commissioners themselves.
It doesn't matter. I think what happens in this country is that, and I think the president needs to know that. You see, there is a problem when even people who are independent and objective don't respect you because of your actions. Yes. That's a problem. Everybody should run away from that. Now, if I see someone who is supposed to be objective with regards to my work disrespecting me, I'll definitely go to him and ask why. Why do you do that? Do you have a reason? And when you see the president and you see the kind of people the president call advisors on law, on policy, on politics, on governance, you definitely know the president either doesn't know what he's doing. Exactly.
Really?
No. Yeah, exactly. Even you do that, people don't. Nobody with sense respects you.
So you mean you want to say you're not surprised that the president attempted to appoint somebody that is already a member of a political party? Forget that whether it's NPP. The rule said if he is a known member of a political party in that level, like responsibility level.
You see, when you hold
so you're not telling us that you're not surprised, because if you look at the quality of the people who are supposed to be advisors of the president, you're not surprised that his decisions
Mr. Cham, the president doesn't enjoy the kind of privileges he enjoys for nothing. He's the premier citizen. The president holds the ultimate responsibility for the keeping of our republic. Yes. Right? Yeah. The president is the most important person. If there is an attack, we all rally around the president to make sure nobody gets to the president.
Absolutely.
The president is like the national flag. Yeah. That president must know his responsibility and respect himself.
Yes.
That's the thing. The president must respect himself.
In fact, Lamin, the president has to understand that all these things reflect directly on him.
Yes.
So what I see happening here, and this is just projections, or just my own analysis, there are people surrounding the president who would love a member of the MPP to be the chairman of the IEC.
Yes, they would.
They are doing it. They are attempting to do it. And if he is sleeping in the back end, that's what happens here. They would sleep in this person. This person is a member of the NPP. He's going to be appointed as a chair. And who knows, God knows, the next thing he's elevated to the chair of the IEC. But the president must know that that is not in his best interest.
Yeah,
and you find out, this is why I posted the other day, I said, you have to study the people that surround you, understand their background and who they are. And but the president is not interested in that either. What he's interested is perpetuating. And if you see him resenting his decisions every now and then really, I always bow my head.
But perpetuation, you see, power is not how long you stay in that office. Power is respect.
Yes.
You see, that's what power is. If you, Jambe, where is he now? He is unquestionable. I don't even go close to him because I was terrified. People are terrified by him. But they do things because they are terrified by him. No one respects him.
Exactly.
Right?
The issue, the president, well, most African, we're talking about Museveni these days. You look at what the leaders have as a weakness, which they think is actually strength, is the fact that they themselves get to be captured and turned into tools in the hands of interest groups
Without
knowing it. See, that's what happens. I mean, that's what happened. I mean, interest groups, whether they are interested in ethnic or economic or whatever interest, will capture the president or the leader and make him to do their bidding. You know, because they believe that once he is there, they will get what they want. Exactly. And when he sinks, they run away to.
There can be economic interest, but there cannot be an ethnic interest.
The only commonality. You see, the only commonality.
No president can serve an ethnic group anyway.
Absolutely. I mean,
they just chant that.
I mean, that's what.
I mean,
those are interest groups. It has to be economical or ethnic. That's what we have in Africa. And the problem, like I'm telling you, is that the only commonality, the only convergence point between the two is that this man wants me to be president. So, I mean, that is worth everything. I will take everything from him. So that's where the problem is. And before they know it, it's too late because politics is very fragile. Yes. Look at, we are talking about Jammeh now. If he really can turn himself to an ordinary man like you and me and come and live in Canada, he would prefer it. But it cannot be because of the position he held, I mean, which didn't end actually the way he wanted. So,
yeah, you just have to know what your role is.
Yeah.
As a leader. If you're head of a household, Barrow doesn't operate like that at his house. It is deliberate. He doesn't run his household like that. It is deliberate. You just have to understand, you know, this is my responsibility and I want to leave a legacy. You know, you've observed this president from the get-go. He was very, very humble in the beginning. He talked about humility. He talked about things. People liked him because, you know, he was very humble. He was appearing humble. But,
humility.
You know, I actually went to meet him at the State House. I sat down with him. He sat at the edge of the chair.
No, even if
and said, I'm learning. I want to learn from all of you when he came in new.
But I will tell you something. During the political impasse, myself and some colleagues from the university, in concert efforts with the National Youth Council, we organized what we call the Youth Conference, and we brought out resolutions, part of which was to ask President Jammeh to resign unconditionally. Right. That very day we went to meet President Barrow at Kairaba. And I remember very fully
President-elect Barrow at the time.
President-elect Barrow. I remember very fully my very first disappointment in President Barrow was when Dr. Cisse, as one of the prominent members of UTG staff, just because of our history as a university, as a higher institution of learning under President Jammeh, told President Barrow that the University of the Gambia is willing to transform itself, to work with his government, as a research institution would be, as an institution of higher education would be, to help this transition. His response to him was, I have my people, I have my team, I have people working with me. Even if that was your understanding, here's my point. Even if you have the world expert around you, if somebody is extending a goodwill as a citizen of this country and telling you that we are willing to work with you, you accept it.
No, maybe.
You said thank you. You said we are open.
It could be that the president did not understand.
And I sat there, just let me finish. I sat there and I looked at this man and I said, are you serious?
No, he probably didn't understand.
From the get-go, you were going to tell people you don't need them.
He was actually trying to make a point.
Maybe he was telling you
to make a point. The president was trying to make a point.
Maybe he was telling you that, okay, your ideas are good. I have my team who will, take care of it. That's what he's telling you.
Who is your team now?
No,
people like Sidinjan,
you saw the
people
team
like
now.
Dusano.
So
those are your team.
So then he must have met Dr. Cisse. Look, he must have met Dr. Cisse much earlier than we thought, because he was asking where he was. Anyway.
I would think probably his discourse for the young doctor started from that point.
So they met before. Because he was asking
him from there.
Where he was asking where he was.
I have to.
Anyway, finally, Pura, we mentioned them many times, seem to be flexing their muscles. Just yesterday, they came out with a press statement sanctioning Jar Oil for violating one thing or the other. But it has to do with illegal, or unauthorized building of petrol stations all over. I mean, Pura had been hard on GSM companies, but this is the first time we had on petroleum companies and a big fish like Jar Oil. Does that tell us that they really are independent now?
Well, I I think it's too early to say they're independent, but I would say it is about time. It is about time citizens who run institutions in this country have the backbone to implement the laws of this country. It's about time. It's about time somebody is in charge, even if you are going to lose your job.
I said independent because you emphasize that institutions must act independently.
Absolutely. So what I'm saying is that if they're starting from here on, and they're saying, okay, we're going to enforce the law, we're going to hold companies accountable, then it's a great thing. We must welcome it. But the question mark is in fact there is somebody in Jar Oil that has disagreed with some of the leadership in whatever you call it, the Pura or whatever, and that is bringing this other scrutiny on this company. Is this something going to be something that is consistent? But this is what we expect as citizens from all our corporations, from police,
I think it's
from the
important
SIS, from every other company. We expect you to enforce the law and to hold citizens and hold corporations, hold your company accountable. This is what we anticipate.
I think the release or the statement came out, got this attention because many people considered that Jar Oil was getting so bold and perhaps so active, let's say so bold, and put in there, and so rapidly growing that people, even some competitors, silently said, "Don't they have a Mr. Brown somewhere?" Or is pushing them. So that is why when Peter come out with it, many people think, okay, perhaps Peter is taking everybody equally now. Well, Mustapha?
Well, I try to avoid this particular subject.
Well, yes, I've had
I think
operators who told me silently that, they believe Jar Oil is perhaps growing so fast. He must have a Mr. Brown somewhere.
Yeah, maybe that could be true. There are a number of petrol stations in this country that operates in areas that are not suitable. So there was a fire incident in Brikama somewhere around 2017, 2018. And after that, the Pura came up with a regulation called, I think, Service Petroleum Product Act regulations. Ministers can make their own laws. So, and that's what a regulation is. And if you violate it, it's a crime. It's like councils can make their own laws also. Okay, they can make a law targeting a particular area under their responsibility. So this regulation came into effect, and this regulation had a number of issues because of that fire incident. They realized that the certain kind of public places and social settings are not supposed to have a petrol station, because when there is fire outbreak, it becomes very disastrous. In the Gambia, our fire service is not very equipped, so before they could do anything, a lot of damage is done. So when they came up with that, they had certain measures. You can't have a petrol station less than 50 meters from a place of a major public gathering, like a school or a park, or probably a government building. And then, but these things are violated across the country. And you can't also have a petrol station.
And that is not just Jar Oil. So, there are petrol stations that are constructed, like you said, in violation of this, the distance that should be between one to the other.
Yes, this regulation.
But this particular press statement is that Jar Oil allegedly put up structures without authority, among other things.
Absolutely, and I think that it's a good attempt if they are saying, at least if they are acting against one or two.
Yeah.
That's a good attempt. If there are other cases around the country, people can get them to act against those people too. But even yourself, I'm sure you've seen a petrol station being built around here.
Built just here, and there's a petroleum house. Even GNPC.
Yeah,
GNPC. Their petrol stations in Banjul was queried by audit reports as to say it's so expensive. So I didn't hear Pura talk about
that's built at the one that they were going to build. In fact, Mamburi was the one in charge at the time.
Yes,
he was going to build a
I
petrol
think
station
an audit
right
report
out the roundabout. Really? And GMPC of all the institutions wanted to go ahead with that.
Yeah, there was the audit report which queried not just the environmental problem, but just the colossal amount that was supposed to be.
But they told you, remember, the NEA told them, they stood their ground.
Yeah, NEA.
You can't build a petrol station here because if you start, the debris that's going to come out is going to affect a lot of places. This is at a roundabout, and also that it's very close to State House, it's very close to the market construction, it's going to affect. And also when there is a fire outbreak at that place, it's...
Look at the petrol, the one that's been built here, right by the petroleum house, couldn't have been owned by any other private one.
It's GMPC.
It's GMPC. Yes. Aren't they aware that another petrol station is just by the corner?
So there are a number of incidents.
So there are issues that
I think that it brings us back to our other topic. You see, until Madi Jobata says this all the time, until we are able to hold ourselves and our citizens to account with regards to wrongful doings, we are not going to get anywhere. Let's change President Barrow, bring another president. If we like, let's bring Sahabas from graves and make them president. It's not going to change. If people can kill people and get away with it, people can steal and get away with it, people can slap people and get away with it, it doesn't matter who is the president. Everybody is going to do it.
Yes.
Okay.
And you know, I mean, maybe you can come in, but I will not be surprised if, in fact, Jar Oil got approval. Because when you go to these institutions, right, somebody may have taken the papers, walk them through the chain of command, get approval somewhere. I would not be surprised if Jar Oil comes out with a document.
Meanwhile, building is continuing, you know that?
Yeah. So it may well be the case that Jar Oil thought that they are doing the right thing.
Somebody did give them approval.
Somebody gave them approval, or they believe it won't be questioned. Anyway, Pura, being the regulatory body, has come out with these statements, and they said Jar Oil, allegedly, because let's say these allegations until we hear from Jar Oil, maybe they will challenge it. But the authority, of course, we have no reason to doubt about their position, which means they have put up petrol stations allegedly without authority. You want to say that it may well be the case that Jar Oil perhaps have done the right thing, or somebody have just assured them that this has been done the right way?
Not even assured them. Somebody may have approved their documents that they submitted to go to build a petrol station. If I were to investigate, I'll investigate the ministries that are in charge, the chain of command. Because it would not be unusual for somebody to go through the chain of command to get approval somewhere. And now they discover that something is wrong fundamental somewhere, and the government always saves its face. You know, they always come out and try to save face. You come up with that statement and say, oh, they allegedly and all that. Who did that? If they investigate it, there's somebody who did that.
In fact, they are required to have a building permit.
A building
Maybe
permit,
Nyima can come in then.
You can come in there.
It's too much.
So the
what we have to deal with.
So the statement actually raises more questions.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. There are so many questions, but here is my observation also. I think this is beyond Pura and Jar Oil. Like what we are seeing happening in this country. And I worry a lot, especially about the land grabbing that's happening in this country. Everybody just rushing to get as much land for themselves as possible. We are not leaving anything for posterity. And I think that it is not just Pura that is supposed to enforce its laws. I think the central government and the local governments need to really do so much to preserve certain areas of our lands. So that when we need markets, there will be space for it. When we need parks, there will be space for it. When we need public institutions like schools, health centers, there will be space for it. But what I see happening here is that everybody is getting whatever they can get for themselves. And it's not just citizens. It's also outsiders who have money and are coming in and are buying land indiscriminately. And there is no regulation, there is nobody stopping them. That's one thing. So people need to take their responsibilities. And we should not just focus on the today. It's important to also look forward to the tomorrow. What could happen? With the Jar Oil Pura thing, I think it just goes back to how we react. We wait for things to go wrong and then we react to it. Because the Jar Oil issue is not anything new. It has been on the news, especially on social media for a long time, where I have had information about the people of Welling that are protesting against Jar Oil building in these places. But Jar Oil went ahead because they said they have approval. Right? To do so. People in Pura are Gambians. They see things happening every day. Why do you wait until the damage is being done and now you want to do something about it? Just to save face. I don't believe in all of these after the damage regulations. It's just to save face. It doesn't make any sense.
And Jar Oil is going to go to court.
Well,
they can prove.
The ultimate question I have. The ultimate question I asked Mustapha this question before we start the program was, apart from the fine, are they allowed to continue their construction?
Okay.
Or are they
so you mean, so it's safe to say that Pura alleged.
To have a required to go to a number of places, including Lands Ministry, and to also be approved by a committee on which sits the Fire Service, the Ministry of Energy, Lands Ministry.
Why are they required to do that if the locations are illegal
So
to
after
begin
that,
with?
you go and do an environmental impact assessment. And then you approve it to NEA, you send it to NEA to approve it, and from there then you go to Pura to give you the license.
So that's
to buy
that's where
and
the
sell
problem.
petroleum products.
All right. So now, allegedly, Pura is alleging, and they have fined them $900,000. Allegedly, among other things, for constructing.
The problem now is Cham. You know
Because
what
we
I'm
have
trying
to hear from.
You know what I'm trying
We have
to
to
say.
hear from Darboe. Like what?
I know, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
I don't even know how it get there. I'm trying to say that before you even construct a petroleum station,
You have to go all
petrol
this
station,
process. Yes.
you have to go through the process.
And not all of them will
when
give
you
you.
are done,
Yeah.
you have the license to buy and sell petroleum product.
Yeah.
You have the permit to bill.
Yes.
And you start the process. So how do you even build a station until it's almost done, or it's
And then
done?
you start the process.
And then someone is saying you don't have a license.
have a license.
Or you are building it in a place that's illegal.
Somebody's putting a stop to the license. That's what's happening.
It's you know. It's,
Well, I hope. Well, we probably will hear from Jar Oil challenging the Pura decision, etc.
Given the laws in place, that's going to be difficult.
That should be difficult. Well, we will see. From now on, we can take it from Pura, alleging that these people have constructed petrol station, among other things.
I have a question on it. Did they take it to court before they find them?
No,
they are the regulatory
So they are
bodies.
actually
If
telling them
they are supposed to
that
have.
based on the laws we have,
Yes.
this is illegal. If you don't stop the construction, we'll take you to court.
Take you to court. But where is it?
So but they fine them for violating, the regulation.
Regulations. Okay. Okay. That's
So
right.
you can do that.
Yeah.
If they don't stop and they still continue,
Yeah.
you can.
And then you can take legal action.
You
and
can take
implement
legal
the acts, under the acts.
Yeah.
All right, that's all about it. Our thanks to our guest from the United States of America, pro-democracy activist and journalist Demba Baldeh, who I guess is at the very tail end of his holiday, I guess.
It is.
Okay.
Unfortunately.
Well, you are going to be in America perhaps just in time for a new president. I mean, we didn't have time to talk about craziness that happened at your capital.
I hope.
Right. Mr. Baldeh, thank you very much for joining us. And Nyima, you people should have told people, where were you? Where were you?
I can't explain.
You can't explain where you were.
Nyima can't explain.
You
I've
were
been around.
Mustapha, where were you?
Time to time.
Where were you?
I've been coming from time to time.
I know I have not seen Mr. Barrow for a long time. Whenever we meet, he will ask me, Lamin, Cham, where were you?
He knows you.
Yeah, he knows all of us. So.
No, he is the only journalist Mr. Barrow knows and likes so much.
There you
Like
go.
the first day we saw Barrow, and he says, "Oh, Lamin Cham," and Cham was even
That is
shocked.
true.
Where does he know me?
That was the day he was unveiled.
Of course, no. This was
He's now started picking quarrels
This was
with the
his
media.
first press conference ever.
That's true.
First press conference ever.
Lamin should be investigated.
He has an explanation to do.
Maybe you talk about the other Lamin Cham, not me. All right. Thank you very much, all of you, for following us on the brunch. We'll be back next week, inshallah. Until then, goodbye.
In communication, connectivity is everything. We ensure that the links never sleep. Quantities and qualities, all in our data service, providing efficient, reliable voice and data service. We believe if you're not up to speed, then you're going backwards. Communications have to flow as fast as the speed of light. Whatever business you're in, having someone who understands your needs is critical. That is why we just don't offer you technology, we offer you solutions. Enjoy Gamcel's internet broadband anytime, anywhere. Your national operator, Gamcel, Yaibaram.
For all your pastry, bakery, and quality food, CK Restaurant is the only place to be. We do catering for birthdays, weddings, and all related services. We have all kinds of local foods, American, European, and even beyond. Come and have a taste of our local juice, ebe, and other services. At CK Restaurant, customer satisfaction is our priority.
We live in a day and age where technology is creating a world without borders, filled with unlimited potential to improve the lives of the people around us. Innovarex Global Health ushers in a new way of leveling the playing field with increased access to quality healthcare services delivered at your doorstep. Our qualified professionals are equipped with state-of-the-art point-of-care testing technology to conduct tests such as kidney function, liver function, electrolyte tests, body composition, hemoglobin, A1C, and many more services with the highest efficiency in delivering results. The addition to our flagship Wellness on Wheels, more fondly known as WOW Delivery Service, brings the entire clinical experience full circle. IGH has remained committed to creating the future of healthcare delivery. Gone are the days of sending loved ones outside the country for basic medical services. Innovarex Global Health offers a new peace of mind and takes pride in delivering the quality of care we all deserve.